you just hit record. Okay, that was easy.
Okay, you're cut off a little bit. You know that?
Yeah, I guess that's okay.
I mean, should I move it?
Nah, let's stop fucking with it.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I don't want to fuck with this shit anymore.
Okay.
So I got to do the proverbial clap because that makes it easy to sync everything up in post-production. I'm fancy now. I do post-production sometimes. Okay. You feel good?
Yeah, I just had to adjust all the things on my head.
I like your head.
Thank you.
It's pretty.
Thanks.
Are you ready to roll? Mm-hmm. All right. So on this episode of Never 99,
okay,
what are we talking about?
We are going to talk about being a 90%er in a world full of 10%ers.
All right. Hit me with what that's about.
All right. So I listened to this guy, Russell Brand. He is a famous rock star. He's a rock star, right?
Oh, he's a comedian. He's a stand-up comedian that turns into an actor.
He's not a rock star. He just plays a rock star in all the movies.
Yeah, because he sounds like a rock star. So he is a stand-up comedian.
He is a comedian
who got into acting.
True.
And he's in one of my favorite movies, which is Forgetting Sarah Silverman. Sarah something.
Marshall.
Sarah Marshall. Yeah. Sorry about that.
I've never even seen that movie. I don't know how I knew that.
Did you know that was one of my favorite movies?
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's hilarious. That's actually one of my all-time favorite movies. So he's in movies he's in comedy movies, and he has lots of addictions.
He does, but primarily he's a heroin addict.
Yeah. He had addictions with drugs, all kinds of things.
Right.
He has major impulse controls.
Right.
That's what he calls it, from what I heard. And
exactly.
And then now he's kind of been on this really kind of cool
journey. He's been sober for 16 years now. Go Russell.
Yeah, for real. I mean, he's been on this really cool journey of writing books and doing podcasts and videos and stuff about it. So he's really, really, really esoteric in the way he talks. He's really out here when it comes to
I love it.
Yeah, and his accent is fantastic.
Yes, it is.
I think it's Cockney.
Yes.
I could be wrong on that.
Right.
But he's got a fantastic English accent. So it's fun to listen to him talk because he's talking about huge ideas about people in life and this world and the next world and everything. And then his accent is just so fun. It's just so fun to get through. But anyways, Russell Brand.
Okay. So Russell Brand, I initially was interested in listening to his podcast and, his stand-up comedy and everything like that because, heroin addiction, that hits close to me. And so I'm constantly trying to absorb information about it so that I can help the people in my life who struggle with addictions. So when I started listening to Russell Brand, the main thing that caught me in the tagline that pulled me into him was I watched this video where he was talking about how basically 50% of our community is trying to fill a hole. He calls it the hole. And when he's referring to it, he always calls it the hole. They have this hole inside of them and they're constantly trying to put stuff into it to fill that hole.
Yeah, it's not like someone shot you with a gun.
Right, not like that.
No, it's a deep, never-ending darkness inside of you.
Correct. Yeah. And so people try to fill it with all kinds of things, right? There's, addictions are very wide. You have food, sex, drugs, video games. There's a lot of different things that people put into their hole to fill it. So he says that 10% of our community fills that hole with hard drugs, right? Alcohol, heroin, meth, that kind of stuff. And they fill that hole with those drugs. So that 10% of the community, they can't do anything because they're going to get addicted to it.
If they try it, it's
if they try it, it's done. So Russell Brand, he doesn't even drink caffeine because he's I'm a 10%er. I can't have anything that's mind altering at all because I'm going to get addicted to it. I'm going to rely on that to fill my hole. So he doesn't even drink caffeine, which I think is crazy because you and I we drink caffeine all day long, right?
Yeah, I'm drinking one right now.
It's called a Hustle.
I'm drinking this drink if you can see it on the video.
Hustle, sponsor us.
Yeah, Hustle, you should sponsor us.
You should because we drink these all day long.
We drink it. Yeah, so real quick, here's a commercial. These things, they got green tea in them.
They have a ashwagandha.
Not this one.
Oh, not this one?
Not this one.
Sorry,
no, this
Hustle.
this one has ceremonial grade green tea.
Oh, that's the one with the ceremonial, yes.
Which I don't know exactly what that means. I know kind of what it means.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's like green tea leaves that were under the shade.
Anything ceremonial, I will ingest.
Yeah, right? So I think the ceremonial green tea means it has a certain amount of time under the shade. So green tea, it has to be, it's grown in Asia somewhere. I can't remember if it's China or Japan, but it has to be grown under shade for a long enough time. That's what gives it its taste. So like they have a certain level of tea that becomes, see, there you go, right? So there's a certain amount of like a certain grade of tea that becomes ceremonial. And I guess that's what's in here.
Okay.
But when I saw it, I thought that a monk prayed over my drink.
Which would be very awesome.
I would prefer if a monk prayed over my drink as opposed to this
guy. What if he prayed over the green tea?
That would be fantastic.
That would also
No, that's what I mean. Like that's what I want, as opposed to like some really shade loving green tea leaves.
Right.
And then it's also got like a bunch of fruit juice. But that's not important. We love caffeine. That's what we're talking about.
It's true. So we consume a lot of caffeine, but 10% of our community can't do that. He's got a word for it for those people who have a big hole and try to fill it. He calls it like OECP or something. I'm not quite sure what it stands for. I'm sorry, Russell, for not being as knowledgeable about your theories.
Your stuff.
About your stuff.
Go read his book.
I'm so sorry. I mean, I've read a lot of his
not
stuff
you.
before.
People,
okay.
People listen.
Go read
No, I wasn't yelling. I was like, people listening.
If I don't quote the things from Russell Brand the exact way that they're supposed to, but the overall arching story of this is that I am a 90%er, which means I don't necessarily get addicted to things if I try them. Like I can drink caffeine and I'm good and all that kind of stuff, and that's fine. But it never leads me down a rabbit hole to fill my big gaping hole. Now, I'm sure that there's other things that I, fill it with my phone, like different kinds of things or whatever. So definitely in like that 50% of, there's a hole inside, we have to fill it, because lots of us are. We do it with all kinds of things all the time. But when it comes to that 10%, definitely not in that. And that has been really crazy to witness in life. A lot of the people in my life, a lot of people in my friends and family's lives who are in that 10% and get sucked into that hole. And I'm standing by on the sideline just watching their whole lives go down in fire. And that is just some crazy stuff.
I would say that you're not on the sideline. I would say like when it comes,
I'm in the fire.
Yeah, I would say that you're in. If we're doing sidelines, you're in the game.
I am in the game when it comes to that kind of stuff.
So you're not the main player because you're not the person that's suffering from addictions
But I'm suffering from their addiction.
Yeah, something that we've talked. This is something that we've talked about a lot. Like watching all the things that you've been through with family members that are suffering with drug addiction is like the shrapnel.
So much shrapnel.
The life shrapnel. So shrapnel is like when you throw a grenade, like it's got like sharp metal things in it and it blows up and that's what like sticks inside of you after a grenade blows up. Right. So I've watched you and it happens periodically every couple months. It's cyclic or whatever. There's something that happens where somebody that has a problem with drugs in your family drops the bomb on you, then you get blown up a little bit. Yep, so I wouldn't say that you're on the sideline. I'd say you're actively a participant in the game. Mm-hmm. And then like you can't, and it's not, you can only help and influence. I don't even know if you can really influence.
I can't really even influence all that much, I really can't. Yeah.
It's crazy though. It's how devastating, like when, before I knew someone that had this type of scenario in their life, when I thought about people who were addicted to drugs or whatever, I just thought about like the person and how their life probably sucked and like how they affected like the people they bounced into. But I didn't realize that it's like a systemic family bomb, like nuclear bomb that gets blown up on your family. And then you guys, like your whole like family has to deal with this one particular issue forever. Emotionally, financially, I can't think of any other LY word. Physically, all the words.
It's all the things.
Yeah, it's really, really, really tough. And for me, that's the like it breaks my heart when I see you go through it, because like I want to help you, but you can't even help the person who needs help. Yeah. So like for me, I'm like off to the side of the.
You're a sideliner.
I'm a sideliner.
Although you have to like, I mean, not deal with me when I'm in it, but it obviously weighs on you because
it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart because like I see you in so much pain because we'll talk. We should just talk about talk about. Sorry, we'll come back to like me being on the sideline. Like let's talk about like what's actually going on. Because people don't know. I know what's going on. The people need to know.
Yeah, of course. So my brother. Definitely the closest person in my life. He's my best friend. He's always been my best friend. And he is,
I'm a close second.
6-7 years older than me. So we have a very interesting bond with each other. So we're very close, which definitely doesn't help.
He kind of shrapnel. Is it true that he kind of raised you when you were a kid? Or like, I can't remember if that's true or not. I might have made that up.
So he is older than me for sure. I have two older brothers. One is 14 years older than me and one is 7 years older than me. And my mom was a single mom when I was growing up. So she worked a lot. So my brothers were there to kind of fill in the gaps. Well, my eldest brother, he left the United States. He moved back to France when I was 6 years old. So it was just my other brother and I, my middle brother and I. And, you know, when my mom wasn't there, it was my middle brother who was taking care of me. Well, when I was about, I'm going to say about 7 years old, my middle brother got addicted to painkillers because he broke his shoulder or his collarbone or something like that.
Do you know which ones? They're probably pretty common ones.
I think it was
it's not
Oxys.
like
honestly, I believe it was Oxys.
Yeah, they used to hand that stuff out like Tic Tacs. Yeah, I know. The reason I brought that up is because like back in the day, they handed those things out like Tic Tacs, and it caused like a shitstorm in people's lives because that was one of the, like, talk about gateway drugs. Like that's one of the like most common gateway drugs to heroin and meth and things like that. So it's kind of crazy. It's like a legal dope pusher. When they're doing that stuff. So
he wasn't monitored when he was taking those painkillers. He got addicted to them. And then
but he started taking them because he was in pain.
He had like surgery on his shoulder or his collarbone or something like that. Like he broke it or fractured it or something and had surgery. I was very little. And he broke it, got addicted to the drugs. Like he liked them. And then he had a party at my...
Hold on real quick. We'll cut John. I'm sorry. But like, that's something that's important because a lot of people that get addicted to the hardcore street drugs like heroin,
they start off on painkillers.
They start off with pain.
And this is why, because heroin is less expensive than painkillers. So when they run out of their painkillers, this is what happened. A teenage friend, my brother was 16 years old. He said to him, you know, my brother was like, hey, could you get me some painkillers? Because I ran out of my prescription. And this teenager told him, I can't get you painkillers, but I can get you some heroin and it's cheaper. And so my brother was like, okay, well, if it's cheaper, I'm going to try it. And he tried it. And my brother told me one time that he knew that he was an addict as soon as the heroin kicked in.
That's crazy.
He knew as soon as he was an addict.
Did he ever?
As soon as he took it, he was an addict.
Yeah, he was like, as soon as that hit, like
he knew he was addicted to it.
Did you ever ask him how he knew? Because
it was the feeling.
I've never heard that before, and that's mind blowing.
So it was the feeling, and I definitely understand the feeling that he got when he took it. It was just like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever done before. I can't live my life without this.
Yeah, that's the end point of it. Like in the second sentence, right? And I can't live my life without it. That's like, man, that's impactful. Like so from the first exposure to it to have those two sentences, right? That's crazy.
So here's how it happens, right? Here's how a drug addiction for my brother happens. The closest person who is addicted to drugs is my brother. So I really only have the perspective from him, and then the thousands of videos I've ever watched on other people talking about their addictions, right?
Yeah, I'm sure you studied it after having this grenade in your life.
I've lived my whole life with this. You guys have to think about it. Like we don't have memories from when we're little. My biggest, most memorable moments in my life have all been my brother and his addiction. So like everything serious that I remember when I was growing up isn't necessarily like me going to Disneyland. Like I have memories of those kinds of things, but they're not as strong. They're not as clear as the memories I have of my brother, of me growing up with him. So here's how this addiction works, right? You start doing it and you think, oh, I can control this, and you can be a functioning addict.
Like I'm stronger than the drug.
I am stronger than the drug. I can only do it on the weekends and I'm fine, or I'll wait until after work. I still get up and work on time. I can still do all these things, but you slowly start to do it during different times and it takes a hold over you, and then you become a full-blown addict. Now, my brother is 100% a functioning addict, 99% of the time. He can function for years using the drug and then will blow up within like a month or two, and that's when like there's always shrapnel when he's using, but that is the biggest point of shrapnel. So the times that he's not using and that he is sober, my brother has been sober for I say going on like 9 months right now. When he is sober, I'm still like worried beyond measure.
And you should be,
that
because
he's using.
When it comes to these type of drugs,
I don't know why I got Italian while I did that. I got worried.
Spicy, they had wrong. But they say when it comes to these type of drugs, particularly the hard ones, like there's always a relapse.
Yeah.
Like, so it's not
you
like,
always fall off the wagon.
Yeah. So it's not like if it's going to happen. It's
right.
more of a issue. It's more of like, when is it going to happen? Right.
Exactly. And so, and the thing is, and this is how I always talk to my brother, when you fall off the wagon, that's okay. And it's the same thing with meditating, right? When you're meditating and you're you're focusing on your breath and you're not letting your thoughts become seductive, and you're actually meditating when those thoughts come in and you get stuck to them, which I call, it's like you get sucked into the cloud, like the clouds of thoughts come over you. You're supposed to just watch them go by. When you get sucked into it and you realize it, you're supposed to not waste any time and snap right back in where you want to be. So you don't have to focus on, oh, I messed up, oh, I got sucked into my thoughts, or any of those kinds of things. You're just like, oop, I'm in the wrong spot, and you immediately drop it and you go back to meditating. So I try to talk to him about his addiction when it comes to that. When you fall off the wagon, you don't waste any time going, oh my God, I messed it up, all that kind of stuff. You just immediately stop what you're doing and go right back into the habits that you want to do. And, you have a gajillion chances to start over. And I keep telling him that you have so many chances to start over. You just have to grant yourself them. Yeah. With how many breaths we have per day, per week, per year, that's how many chances you have to start your life over. So you fall off the wagon, you don't waste any time. You go right back to the habits that you want.
It's hard. Doing good, even for non-drug addicted people, like doing good habits is something that takes like significant amount of willpower.
Yes.
It's
hard.
But I think a better word is discipline. It takes a very disciplined...
Discipline is the hardest thing in the whole entire world.
Yeah, if you think about it, it takes a very disciplined person not to eat pizza every day, because pizza is delicious.
So good.
Yeah, right? I ate pizza yesterday.
Oh my God, did you?
Didn't we eat pizza yesterday?
You had pizza without me?
No, I had it with you. I got a spicy pizza from Nuke's Deli.
We didn't get pizza?
Oh, that was 2 days ago. I had pizza 2 days ago.
Oh, man, I was about to say.
So we're trying to get some sponsors. We're trying to get some hustle drink sponsors.
We're trying to get some pizza.
Well, yeah, Nuke's Deli pizza. If you get that spicy Italian, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's got spicy juice in it.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's like chili oil.
I don't know.
But it's really hard to be disciplined. Like
it is.
Yeah. For
hard.
someone who doesn't have a demon pulling at them.
Right.
Like, it always, I've never been addicted to a substance, but I would imagine that it's like a little demon or like a little evil best friend. It's probably, they just always like pulling you. You're like, no, I'm good. I'm going to do this. And they're just rationalizing it in the back of your head. So,
right.
Something,
and it's really crazy because it really is. It's almost like Jekyll and Hyde. That's kind of how I see my brother. Like he's Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah, you always talk about him in two different people.
Two different people.
You speak about him in different tenses. You have the past tense pre-drug addicted brother who you talk about glowingly. I can't think of a better word. Like,
I love my brother.
Yeah,
my brother's the most amazing person in the world.
Yeah, like on a pedestal, and that's I guess
it's true.
But that's how you should talk about your big brother.
Yeah.
Like, so it's not a bad thing.
Right.
But then there's a different section of time where the way you describe everything and then the tone, it all changes. Which I get, like, because it's like it's like two different people. Is that even? I guess it is Jekyll and Hyde, but it kind of, from my limited experience of watching this, it seems like two different people.
Right.
There's like,
and I have a really hard time telling them apart sometimes, and that's what burns me. That's when I get burned.
It's like identical twins, and one is not so great, and one is fantastic, and they wear the same clothes.
They wear the same clothes every single day.
And you're like, hey, which one are you?
I don't know.
You got to put like an X on their arm.
I do, really.
So you can figure out
bracelets or something.
So you could do what Michael Scott did on one of the episodes when he didn't know which one
he was dating and which one he wasn't.
Yeah, he was dating two Asian.
Yep.
Well, there was two Asian girls they picked up from Benihana and brought to the party, but he couldn't tell them apart, so he put an X on one of their arms. So you need to do that with your good brother.
I do.
But when
he comes out,
the evil brother would just wash it off.
Yeah, it's true. He'd be like, But anyways, so
I feel like something you were talking about, like you were saying that like a functional addict or alcoholic always is like they think that they're in control of the situation. And then you went down a list of things that I guess that your brother has told you, probably like, I do it on the weekends, I still go to work, I still do whatever, all the things you just said. That sounds like someone who's just rationalizing something that's stupid.
Correct, of course.
Which is what they're doing. They're like, oh, I'm in control of this.
So that happens like once a year.
And you could people in general, but especially anyone can do this. You can rationalize the worst, dumbest thing that you've ever done to make it positive in your brain. Yep. We're actually biologically wired to do that.
Of course we are.
But just imagine if you had like an evil monkey pulling on you, always, and you would have to like come up with some crazy like scenarios to make that okay.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy.
So he gets triggered And there's different things that have triggered him along the way. It's kind of hard to pinpoint like what triggers my brother. He would be able to speak on this a lot more eloquently than I am because it's
One
his
day we should get
addiction
your
and
brother
not
on the
mine.
podcast.
He would love that.
You think he'd talk about
Oh,
something? Well, you can talk
heck
about
yeah,
whatever
he
you want,
would.
but it would be cool to have him on there anyway.
My brother, here's a sponsor. If anybody wants to sponsor my brother
Shouts out to future sponsors.
and help him become like a mentor, I have never seen my brother shine more brightly than when he was able to help other addicts.
That's true. That's when he was like really into
He was
programs
really,
and steps and like.
and he was doing things. He hated the program, he hated the steps, but he loved being able to talk to other people about their addictions because first off, they can't lie to him because he knows everything. Like he understands all of it. It's like the dad who was a rock star and then now has a teenage daughter, and he's like, no.
Well, if you think about like, so how long has your brother been addicted to heroin?
Close to 20 years.
So think about, and how old's your brother?
All right, he's 7 years older than me. I think my brother is like 33.
So he's 33 years old,
Yeah.
and he's been 20 years of his 33 years. He's been addicted to
Pretty
like,
sure. A little under 20 years.
yeah, we'll just say 20 years. So like his life experience is like his expertise is in drugs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
He
so-
spent more time in his life doing drugs than anything else.
So yeah, so that's crazy. So think about it. Like I can't think of anything that have 20 years of expertise in. But if whatever that would be, that I would want to help people with it.
Yeah.
So that's probably, I was just thinking that's probably why, what else he's going to do?
Yeah.
I mean, he's an expert.
Man, he'd be the best counselor. He really would.
And you've always said he's like, when it comes to people,
Yes.
he's
He's
empathetic.
good.
He's empathetic.
He's good at it,
like,
yes.
he's
Yeah.
caring and he cares about it. And he actually has like
He's charismatic.
yeah. And
And that is I think one of the worst characteristics to have as a drug addict.
it makes you very good drug addict.
It makes you a very, very good.
Because you're like,
drug
wait a
addict.
minute,
Yes,
he's
drug
okay.
addict, yes.
He's okay. He told
Yep.
me, he smiled and told me a joke.
Man,
and,
every single time I talk to him, I'm like, are you on drugs?
yeah, I
Are
know.
you on
I've heard
drugs?
you. Or like,
Just tell me the
know
truth.
I know-
Just tell me it's okay. You can tell me because you can.
Or
You
like-
can, brother. You can always talk.
Or sometimes like when he calls you on
Always.
your caller ID and you go walk off in the corner to talk to him, which is fair. Because like you do 3 steps of pacing. I don't know if you know this. So you take 1, 2, you can't see me, but you take 1, 2, 3 steps. You turn around, take 1, 2, 3 steps
Yeah.
while you're talking on the phone. It's one of your nervous habits when you talk to your brother.
Yeah.
Because that's the shrapnel, man. You're over there, like I said, you're not on the sideline.
I'm stressed out. Yeah.
It's a familiar. I was gonna say a familiar. It is familiar, but like a family problem.
Yeah.
It's not his problem. You know. What I mean?
It's 100% a family problem. I get text messages from my mom all the time. You need to call your brother. You know, it's tough. But so the reason why I kind of want to bring this up now that you have more of now that our audience has more of an understanding of what this is all about, it's very difficult growing up as a part of the society who doesn't have a drug addiction or is not
familiar with it.
Is not familiar. Well, I'm familiar with it, but is not more inclined to get addicted to drugs in a household where that's a really big thing.
You're saying it's hard to live in a world where people don't understand what it's like having a drug addicted family member?
That's a true statement, but I mean,
because I didn't understand what you said. Sorry.
Okay. I mean more of the survivor's guilt that it has to be a normal human being. And I've talked to my brother about this a lot before because we don't resent each other, but there's definitely a weirdness because I'm the successful one and he isn't the successful one. And by successful one, I mean like I can buy groceries every week and I can put gas in my car.
Well, you're successful in you're successful in many ways, but yeah, you don't have to downplay it.
I am not trying to downplay it. I'm talking about basic human things.
Yeah, well, that's what he looks at as success.
That's what he looks like as success.
Not like being ambitious and achieving goals and things like that.
That stuff he doesn't even think about right now.
Okay.
What he's thinking about right now is like, can I live week to week? Can I live day to day kind of things? Do I have to, he doesn't even have a car right now, but like, do I have to sleep in my car? Where is my dog? Different things like that. He doesn't have any of those things. So in our family, like I'm the successful one and he is not the successful one if you were to base it off of those things. So there's survivor's guilt.
So who's the survivor?
I'm the survivor. I'm the one who's surviving, but I didn't do anything.
Okay,
and I
okay.
talked to him about this so much.
So you're
I'm
saying-
like, I didn't do anything to get here. I just exist.
Okay, so you're saying you have survivor's guilt.
Yep.
Because, okay, so you have, so this is crazy. I remember we talked about this a
Yep.
while ago. So like you have survivor's guilt because you live a regular life.
I live a regular life.
You live a
I didn't even try to though.
But well, you live a regular life. You're ambitious. You're goal oriented. You go after the things you want and you
Right.
achieve them, right? So you have survivor's guilt for that, and
Yep.
then you're saying that your brother has resentment.
Nope. I say there's no resentment between us
okay.
for these things. But him and I have had a lot of conversations about them.
But there's some type of emotion between
There's
you.
emotions for sure.
It might be resentment, whatever the same word is. That's resentment without like anger or
Without anger or fear.
Maybe it's just jealousy.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds
But
like
it's not that he treats me poorly because
no.
of it.
But that's
He's very
that's
kind.
that's a fair emotion. They look at somebody and be. So jealousy is when you see someone that has something you want and you're upset that you don't have it.
Correct.
Not that
or
if
you're
he's-
fearful that you'll never have it.
Yeah, like jealousy is like there's a different. I don't know what the other word is. Like you see someone that has something, you're like, oh man, they deserve that. I'm gonna get that too. That's not jealousy. You know what I mean? So I'm not sure what.
Right.
I don't have a brother at all or sister, so I don't even know the brother sister dynamic.
We
So
don't even have a brother sister dynamic. Like we are way more than brother and sister.
It's true. But I would just
My
tell
brother
you-
raised me until I was 7 years old, and I turned around and started raising him.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah, you flipped
We
the
flip-
script.
yes, we
yeah.
flipped
When he hit a hard spot in life, that's
Yeah,
what. Yeah.
we definitely flipped, and we've been flipped ever since. So, and I've been taking care of him ever since. Not as well as I should have. Survivor's guilt.
I was just
Did you
about.
see
I was
that?
just about to say, girl, why'd you say that?
Did you see that?
Yeah, it just popped
Survivor's
out.
guilt. That's so crazy.
I'm not going to edit that out.
But it's like, I can't believe that I didn't even try and I was able to achieve what I have. And I know you're going to say, like, don't downplay your accomplishments, but like, I'm just a normal human being. I did never have to fight my way into having a normal life.
I gotcha. That's crazy. That speaking of like shrapnel, that's some psychological, emotional shrapnel like that I didn't even really know existed.
Yeah.
Until like you brought it up. It
Yeah.
was a while ago. I can't remember whenever we were talking about it, but I was
Yep.
like,
It was during Road Talks.
at Road Talks. But that's crazy. Like on your end, you're like, okay, I'm not addicted to drugs.
Right.
I have to help. I have to worry about my brother.
Correct.
I have to worry about my mom worrying about my brother.
That's a big one.
It is. Both of you have to financially help your brother.
Correct.
Which it's okay to help people, but to help someone who's not helping themselves puts a stink on it.
Right.
It's not like
And
you're
it's-
letting someone
And
borrow
you can't
money.
enable them. You can't give them money, but then when they're doing good, you don't want them to get triggered,
Yeah, so it's not like you're letting someone borrow money to go to college.
which I've done.
Yeah, but that feels
For him.
That feels good. Like that's
It
awesome.
does, but he's still used.
That's true. But but I'm saying like
It's hard.
No, see, that's the
Yeah.
shrapnel. Like that
Yeah.
face. If you're watching the YouTube video,
Yeah.
that's the shrapnel. But I'm saying like if you had a brother that was just, we'll say regular, and he wanted to go to college and make his life better or whatever he wanted to do, and you let him borrow money and he did it, there was no stink on that. You're like, heck yeah, I was able to let my brother borrow money to better his life. Like, that makes you feel good.
Yep.
But you guys, I'll say you guys, you and your mother help your brother, which I'm glad you do. But then there's a stink on it.
Of course, because you're enabling him.
Yeah, you're like,
Yep.
he's gonna go. What are the chances of him go do drugs? Like
Yep.
he's wasting his own money and not providing for himself because he's doing silliness.
Right. And if he ever gets into a sticky spot, in the back of my head, I'm always wondering, like, are you in a sticky spot as a regular human or are you in a sticky spot as an addict? I'll never know.
That's crazy that that anything, because like life happens, right? Well, life is full of chaos in general. So like when any wave of regular chaos hits them, which it has,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I've seen it, and then you're always like, I don't know.
Yep.
You're always like, I don't know. Is that because
Yeah. You're
of
like,
life?
hey, is your brother doing okay? And I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, but you're like, is it because of like, just some crazy life tidal wave hit him?
Right.
Or is it because like he made a mistake and chose to do something that caused the tidal wave?
And I'm always telling him, I said, just tell me the truth. Just tell me the truth. I'm going to find you help regardless. Just tell me what's going on.
Yeah, it takes some of the anger out of it, right?
It does.
So at least you know what you're dealing with.
It does. It takes out the resentment and the anger, and then I don't have to worry about him lying to me, because I think seeing my brother, like being distrustful towards my brother, is the worst feeling in the whole entire world.
So it's kind of like when you're like, don't lie to me. You're trying to figure out which brother you're talking to. Because like we talked about your brothers like twins, like identical twins wearing the same clothes.
Right.
Are you talking to the one that's on the pedestal that is an amazing human? Or are you
Yeah.
talking about the one that has a drug problem that's like devastating his life?
I never know.
Yeah, that's what I'm
I
saying.
never know until he's standing right in front of me. That's the only time that I can ever look at him and kind of tell what's going on. And even then I question him.
I was about to say, and even then you're like,
who am I really talking to? Sometimes I talk to the addict in him, but he's being honest and truthful. That's usually when he's hit like the most rock bottom, which he's hit multiple times. So it's usually at that point that
so is that really
comes to
rock
me.
bottom? I don't know. You think there's
Okay,
like,
so
do you think there's one rock bottom
All
that
right.
he's bounced on a couple times?
So
or
this is
there-
what Russell Brand says, right?
Okay, yeah, hit me
he's
with it.
rock bottom, but his feet don't touch the ground.
I'm sorry, what was that?
He's rock bottom, but his feet aren't touching the ground.
Explain that. I don't understand.
That means you hit rock bottom, but you still have somebody saving you.
Someone's holding you up? Mm-hmm. Or like there's a,
So
like
you're
a
like,
life
you're
rope?
still hovering like this, you know. I made a small symbol with my fingers
Yeah, it's
if
like-
you're only listening to this.
Yeah, I've never heard of it like presented that way. That's pretty crazy. So there is like one rock bottom.
There's rock bottom.
So when people get close to that or like touch it, like they're hanging on by a thread,
Yep.
literally. And
and we're the one who's like saving them, so they're not actually hitting rock bottom.
So we keep
but here's
throwing-
the
we
thing,
keep
like,
throwing
what the
them
freak is
ropes.
rock bottom? Like, what is rock bottom then? Like, should I have them sleeping under a bridge? No place to live, no food, no nothing. And that's the thing, because I have gotten to the point, and if my brother is listening to this, then he knows that I've gotten to the point in my life where I've just like stopped talking to him. We had a period of time where we didn't talk to each other for 12 months, which is the longest in the history of our relationship that we didn't speak to each other.
I know it drove you crazy. I was like, I never tried to bring up your brother.
It was so bad.
I remember one time I just randomly asked you about your brother, and then I could just see the sadness on your face, and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna bring that up again.
So it's hard, because I have gotten to the point where I've been like, well, he can just sleep under a bridge. Like, if that's the point where he's got it. And my brother, this is really personal for him, so I hope he's okay with me saying this, but he got pretty suicidal during that 1 year of time, and he wrote notes to all of us because he was going to kill himself. And in my note, he talked to me, he talked to me about how he knew that I had just kind of written him off for dead. And that to me was like the craziest thing I've ever read in my life, because he's right. Like, I kind of wrote him off, like, okay, well, he's gone. And I have gotten to that point before, but the hardest thing that keeps me from getting to that point with him is my mom.
You know what's kind of crazy?
I can't see my mom go through that, man.
Yeah, you know it's kind of crazy. I guess that maybe is.
I hit the table.
The table shook. It's that maybe that's part of survivor's guilt, is the person that is the addict kind of pokes at it a little bit. Because to say that you wrote him off for dead, that's not true.
I did.
Oh, I disagree with you. You didn't write him off for dead. It was to the point where all of your help was being taken and wasted. Like, you were helping and helping and helping, and he wasn't ready to help himself during that time. That's when like a lot of crazy shit was going on. So it's like, no matter what you do, you were an enabler at that time. So like, what are you going to do? Like, what's worse, not talking to him and let him figure some stuff out and feel some feels, or help him to a point where something irreversible happens?
So that's
what you were
been
scared
my whole
of.
life.
Well, that was what I remember.
That's been my whole
yeah,
life.
you were really scared of that at that time. Because I remember you talking to me about that, and you were like, and I was like, well, if you think if you're going to keep helping him that it's going to lead to a path of like him not being alive anymore, then maybe you should chill out for a second.
I think every single time that we help him, it's leading us to that point. And I never know when helping him is okay and when helping him is not. Should I just never give him help ever, because I don't know who I'm talking to, Jekyll or Hyde?
Shrapnel.
I'll never know. I'll never freaking know. That's
Crazy.
literally the position that I'm in right now with him.
Crazy life
I
shrapnel.
don't know if I'm
what
helping him or not.
Yeah, what are you supposed to do?
I have no idea.
You're wrong either way.
I keep asking him.
You're wrong either way, and you're right either way.
I have no idea. But I honestly cannot see my mom watch one of her children sleep under a bridge.
Yeah, I get you, man.
That's hard. She's like, what am I supposed to do? Let him sleep, on the streets?
Yeah.
And at one point I told her, yep.
Yeah, the devil's advocate side of that is like, well, what else are you going to do?
What else are we supposed to
You're
do
gonna give
about
him-
this?
You're going to give him
Anyways.
$100, and then something, he might go do something poor with it.
So
instead.
a major shrapnel, survivor's guilt, for sure. Right?
Yeah, like I don't know. Well,
Yep.
what are you going to do? Like, I don't think there's a right answer. Like, there, I heard. I don't know if I've ever told you this. I read it in a book. I read a book.
Book reading.
Book reading. It was actually a fantasy book. It wasn't even like a change your life type of book. It was a book about magic where they use colors and make magic.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. It's called the Lightbringer series.
Read it.
Shouts out.
Sponsor us.
Yep. Shouts out to Kip. That's the main character in the book. But anyway, I think it's the first book. They were talking about that there is no gray area in life. There's white and black, like right and wrong. And then the gray area is little strips of white and black bumped up against each other that makes it look gray. but there's just so many tiny little choices. Like there is a right thing to do, but they're so close together that it gets blurry. And when I heard that, it blew my mind.
Yeah.
So it's not like there is a right answer, but it's juxtaposed or pressed up right up to another hard decision.
That was a really good word.
Juxtaposition. I think I used it right. But so then that choice is bumped up or juxtaposed or attached to another choice, like all crammed together. So it's almost an impossible combination of choices to get to the white or to the black. When I read that, I was like, yeah, that. And I thought about you. And actually, when I read that, I thought about this situation. I don't know if I ever told you that or not. New story.
Ha! Oh,
boom!
High five. Oh, the alarms are going off.
It's cool. So if you hear an alarm in the background, there is not a nuclear war coming.
At 12 o'clock every Saturday in the town that we live in.
We live near an army base. Shouts out to sirens that go off all the time.
Well, they don't go off because of the army base. They go off because it's a tornado warning. Like it's a test that they do. We get a lot of tornadoes.
I thought it was at the base.
So it's not at the base. It's next to the National Infantry Museum. It's right next to the dog park.
Okay, I didn't know that.
It's a big old tower right next to the dog park, and it goes off. It's a tornado warning, and they just test it every Saturday to make sure it still works.
Well, there you go. We both.
It says it when it talks. It says this is just a test.
Yeah, we're basically just trying to just give you some fun banter until the horn goes away.
Yeah.
But I guess we can get back into it.
So I like to mess with people who come here for the first time ever.
There's a nuclear
And I tell
bomb
people there's like stuff going on. I did that to one of my best friends. I did that to CJ.
ISIS is here. ISIS.
Yep.
It's an ISIS horn.
Oh, our video is going to get flagged now for talking about ISIS. And
No. You get flagged for saying the word quarantine or anything about making your...
Or no mask.
Yeah, if you use the word mask in a negative way, or if you talk about helping your body be healthy. And not, worrying about your body. I got flagged for that. They didn't like that.
They don't like that stuff.
They didn't like that at all. It's crazy.
We're still going. Can I hear it? I don't know if you guys can hear it.
Yeah, we paused for a second just so you can hear it. So I'm going to play devil's advocate on you, okay? Because
hit me with it. This is my favorite game.
We do this a lot.
Yeah, we do.
I agree with what I'm about to tell you, but I also disagree with it. Not 100%. Well, it's not the 100% of the reason of things happen, but it is a part.
Oh, we're talking about this?
Yeah.
Okay, so just as like a recap, we don't agree on what we're about to talk about. We do agree in a lot of the different things when it comes to it, but there are some things we don't agree, but we value each other's opinions highly on this.
So I agree with everything that we've talked about.
I got Italian again.
It's a spicy dog addiction. But I agree with everything that we've been talking about.
Yes.
But I also don't have like a deeply loved one that has a problem. So I'm a little colder about it because I have the ability to be.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like you're entrenched, man. Like someone that you grew up with, that your brother, like your family is going through an awful thing.
Yeah.
So like you have to have emotion attached to it. It's impossible not to. Yep. I do not have that.
Oh, we're not talking about what I thought we were going to talk about.
I think so.
Oh, you think so?
Saying,
okay,
like,
go for it.
I'm just saying I agree with everything that you're saying.
Yeah.
So what I was leading up to was when you have so much like heart in it, sometimes it's hard to heed or listen to the other side because it's both. It's not one or the other.
Okay, yeah. So we're definitely not talking about what I thought we were going to talk about. So that sentence I said before is not true because we agree on this.
Strike it, but reverse. Anyway, so that's enough teasing of what's going on. So like, what about the devil's advocate is what if your brother never would have broke his shoulder and got the pain kills? What if your brother never would have went to that party? What if he wasn't allowed to go?
It was at my house.
Well, what if he didn't throw it?
Yeah.
Choice, personal responsibility is what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Or what if when the kid asked him for heroin,
he said no.
He said no. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like no one made him do these things or makes anyone do these things. You know what I mean? So there is a personal responsibility involved with it. But a lot of times I found when talking to people, and I get it, man, because like your heart is so big and it's so hurt and it's so in it. But that's really important. Like it's not like he was born a drug addict.
Correct.
And I know you believe that your genes have more to do with that than I do. I think that's what we disagree on. I thought that's what you were talking about.
I don't think that addictions are genetic.
Okay.
I don't think that it was like it's in our blood. I don't think that. I think that it's nurture and nature.
Yeah,
I think it's nurture and nature.
Yeah, I agree with you. So I agree with everything that we're saying. I was just thinking a lot of times, maybe, I think I brought it one time at a really poor timing. I think you were really upset, and I brought the personal responsibility thing up. It didn't go over so well.
Okay.
But again, sometimes it's not what you say, it's when you say it. It's the timing.
Sure.
It's the timing of it. I think I did some bad timing on that one. But really, if you think about it, what if he would have said no? He's like, oh, heck no, I don't do heroin. Uh-huh. You know what I mean? Like, how different would his life be?
So his life would be completely different.
Yeah. So like
now, I want to.
Sorry, that challenges the whole argument a little bit.
Okay, so
a little bit.
I don't think that being a heroin addict is genetic. I think that how we are made plays a big part in who we are. I think that...
Are you talking about like DNA?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that the combination of my mom and his dad, we have different dads, but we were raised as full siblings, so I forget that sometimes. I think that my mom and his dad put together genetically predisposed him to be a 10%er. Then he was put in situations where he didn't have the right role models, which goes back to our last video.
Yeah,
right?
check out the first episode. Yeah, it'll make more sense.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that he had a role model. I don't think that he had enough supervision, and I don't think that he was entertained enough.
I give you that. I agree with everything that you just said.
So you combine the force of how he was genetically made between my mom and his dad, and then you add in nurture. So that's nature and nurture. And that made my brother, which is why he was unable. And then you bring in personal responsibility, and that gives him why he was unable to say no and why his life went the way that it did.
I agree with you. I agree with everything you just said.
Now, as an adult, you are 100% in control of everything that you do, but you have to be disciplined.
It's true.
So now I don't feel like any of those things are an excuse. As a child with no leader and being predisposed to it, I don't feel like it was his fault. I don't feel like it was anybody's fault. I feel like it was 20 different things that came into action that created him. Is that your phone? Sir.
I don't know why it came on my computer.
Wow. Okay.
Sorry about that. That's never happened before.
Now as an adult, it's all personal responsibility.
Yeah, I give you that, right?
Yep.
But I'm a big proponent of personal responsibility.
Yeah.
There's a good book, Jordan Peterson. He is a very controversial, for some reason, psychologist from Canada. He's fantastic.
Okay.
I like him a lot. He wrote a book called 12 Rules. You guys should check that out.
Okay.
12 Rules to Life or something like that. And the whole book is about personal responsibility. It's fantastic. I'm a big time fan of it. But I also, a lot of people that are really preachers are like, just pull yourself up by your bootstraps. We all have the same opportunity. False.
False.
That is false. So I'm not on the extremist version of it. Everyone just picks themselves up by their bootstrap. She just hit her face on the microphone. Nice. Because we all have, if life is a race, and we're all at the starting line to get to the finish line, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I don't think we're all at the starting line.
No.
There's certain people that have their toes on the line, and there's certain people that are half a mile behind it.
And we're all made differently.
Yeah, and we're all made differently, right? So there comes in that we're all predisposed to different things by our genetic makeup. But then, leading up to personal responsibility, that has to be taught and learned.
Yes.
And that is instilled from a youngster, the environment you're up until you become an adult. So
we were not, my family, my siblings and I, we were not taught personal responsibility.
Or just substitute discipline, if you like.
Yep,
for
we were
that
not
word.
taught discipline.
Yeah, so that's where.
Nope.
So when it comes to like pick yourself by your bootstraps, I agree with that.
But they don't have the tools to do so.
They don't have the boots
They don't have the straps
or the boots
or the fingers.
or the boots. Boots have bootstraps.
I don't know.
I was just joking, but so like when it comes to that, like I'm not like super like when it comes to like I can't think of like like very super right wing people tend to it's like everyone picks themselves up by the bootstraps. Now I personally like that sentence because I've picked myself up from some places with my bootstraps.
Right.
But I also am passionate and can see more of the context of the person's life and know that, hey man, they grew up in a whole different environment. They didn't grow up in the Brady Bunch. Like if you grew up in the Brady Bunch environment, like your decision matrix and the decision trees you go through are formed and shaped way different than if you're grown up in an environment of neglect and violence.
So
I'm not saying you guys were born in violence, but
no.
But maybe the neglect
Yes.
part. You know what I mean? Like or any of that nasty shit.
I think that I think it was all nasty shit. Now I think that you grew up in an environment of neglect, but for some really serious points of your life, you were taught discipline, because I think that your grandparents stepped in for those few years during some years that you really needed to learn it. Like, it was good for your brain to learn it, and you were taught discipline during those years. And those just couple years have bled into the rest of your life.
It's true. I grew up with my grandparents until I was in first grade. I moved out in kindergarten. So,
What?
what?
Those times aren't congruent.
Yeah, sorry.
You said you lived with them till first grade, but you moved out in kindergarten.
Yeah, sorry. I was thinking out loud. I was trying to see how old it was. It was the summer from kindergarten to first grade.
Okay.
That's when I remember moving in with my mom and some random.
So that's a very young age.
Yeah,
but still, those first couple years of your life, like, you were taught discipline.
Yes, because my grandfather was a military guy. So, like, he was very big into regimen and discipline and routines. And he had a very regimented discipline and routine that he lived his life by. And then I modeled it because he was like my dude, man. He's my superhero. And it did help. So then I grew up. Then I moved.
You were able to pull yourself up by your bootstraps when you got older.
Yeah, but the race wasn't fair.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't fair. Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not like the super, everyone can do it. Yeah, you can, but like it takes a while. So someone's almost done with the race, or they're hitting different milestones during the race while you're just getting to the starting line. So that's where I'm compassionate when I understand like that. So, but it is crazy if you think about, like, what if you're like, how many choices, like, small, big, huge, small then, but big now. Look at, but what if your brother wouldn't have broke his arm or whatever? Or what if the doctor wouldn't have just gave him, like, whatever was Oxycontin? So here's a, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Gave him something a little bit more mild or more conducive to what a child should have. Like, how different would his life would be? How different? Yeah, the one decision, like, he's faced with at a party. What if he wouldn't have thrown the party? What if that one kid wouldn't have come? What if he would have said no when the kid was like, dude, I just get you some heroin, bro. This is way better. Like, how different? He would have been a different dude, man.
I mean,
totally different.
I might be a drug addict.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
a big reason why I never touched that kind of stuff was because I saw everything that was going on in his life.
Yeah.
Whenever it came into my life, I just didn't.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I might have.
You might have. It's kind of like Back to the Future, which I know we talked about this last
I've
episode.
never watched it.
We're gonna have to sit down and watch it.
Okay.
Will you watch Back to the Future with me?
Oh, yes.
Part 1 and part 2, back to back.
We'll see.
Come on.
We'll see.
Anyway, so in that movie, every time they go back in time and they fidget,
They tweak something. It's the butterfly effect.
Yeah, it's basically the butterfly effect. Except for that movie's stupid and Back to the Future is awesome. So, like, every time they go back in time and they fidget with something, they go back into the future and it's different. Like, everything's totally different. So yeah. I guess you could have become like a drug addicted human, or maybe that wouldn't have happened. And then maybe if we could play Back to the Future, maybe if your brother just would have said no, like, how crazy would that have been? Like, for for him to be like,
he'd be a mongrel.
What's a mongrel?
Is that the right word? Mongrel? Mongrel?
A mogul?
Mogul.
A mogul.
Mongrel.
You talking about like Tom Haverford?
Mogul.
Like, he wants to be from Parks and Rec.
My brother is Tom Haverford. If he would have said no. I
That's
told my brother that all the time. I'm like, you are Tom Haverford. Everything about Tom Haverford reminds me of my brother. Like, his quirky ideas and coming up with things and, like, being super charismatic and, you know, like the board with the black colors on it, and they're trying to figure out the black color, and the guy's like, it's all the same color, and him and what's his name? Saperstein? What's his name?
Oh, he's got the funniest character on there.
He's got the funny friend. I forget his name.
Ralphio.
Yeah, no, John Ralphio.
John
Ralphio is like, and he's like, Tommy, name him. And he's like, Onyx, you know, and he goes through all the different black names or whatever. That's my brother.
Yeah, so go watch the episode of Parks and Rec where Tom Haverford sells his rent-a-swag business. You can see what kind of mogul her brother would have been.
That's my brother 100%.
Well,
so he would have been a mogul.
Well, there you go. I wish we could play Back to the Future. I would love for your brother to be a mogul.
I know, me too.
But I don't know. Yeah. So there's the whole thing of, like, it's all a whole continuum of a timeline. I know it's not just one event that led to it all, but if you could just go back and tinker with a few of those, or if he just would have made a slightly different, and I say slightly different, it's a big choice, but it's not that different to say yes to no. I mean, I'm gonna get you some heroin, bro. No thanks. Okay.
But he was already addicted.
Oh, I know, but I'm just saying, what if?
No,
so it's not like he needed to read like 17 books and like study and go. What if he just said, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
You know, how different
who knows? It probably would have been way different, but
it's crazy when you think of it like that way. It's just one choice. But I know there's like years and years and years and years of stuff that led up to the choice. But it's
Yep.
crazy when you think of it like as one choice.
So now we're here, right? None of that happened. Now we're here, and this is the life that we're living. And society is not set up. Our society in the United States is not set up to support recovering addicts
What do you mean by
or
that?
addicts in general.
Yeah, that's why that's why
Like-
they end up homeless.
There's a lot of different things that if I had a gajillion dollars, I would do. The first thing that I would do is I would provide clean needles.
Explain
addicts.
That. Explain that. I know why, but when you hear that, when someone hears that, they might be like, "That's the
So-
exact opposite of." What you
Okay,
should
so there's a HIV, there's all kinds of different diseases that come from addicts sharing needles, and they share needles because they can't find any anywhere, and so they just share their needles with each other.
do. Then they get sick.
They get super, super sick, and then there's nothing to support them, and they die, and they pass on diseases to even more people because of it. So
Some people are cold blooded, and they're like, "I'm sorry to cut you off," but some people on that point they're so cold blooded. They're like, "Well, you shouldn't give an addict a needle."
correct.
But
Here's the thing,
hold
right?
on, now can I- I'm so sorry. You're
Just
talking
let
about.
me finish my sentence.
But you know I'm going to forget what I was going to say.
But could you just let me finish my sentence? Because you're not supposed to be thinking about what to say while somebody's talking. You're supposed to be listening to them.
Do you just lecture me over the podcast?
I did.
All right, hit me up.
You interrupt me a lot.
I love you.
I love your face so much, but let me talk. Okay. So in different countries, how they handle addictions is they give them free needles. They give them a safe place to go. A lot of places give you a safe place to use, and then they give you a safe place
Do
to
they really?
go.
I've never heard that before.
It gives you obviously like less disease, less fighting. A lot of different things happen because of that. So the addiction levels go down, which means people are not as addicted to these things because they have safe places to do them. They have a safe place to sleep. They have clean needles. They have good health care, even though they are addicts. And so there are less addicts. And this is easily explained when you talk about abstinence.
Abstinence versus safe sex.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because the states who practice abstinence, their STD levels are super, super high. Their teen pregnancies are super, super high. But when you actually start talking about it and you start giving free help, you start handing out condoms, like all kinds of things, you give places, clean, safe places to go, the levels of teen pregnancies and STDs go way, way down. And it's the exact same thing when it comes to an addiction.
Oh, that's great. So we got speaking of sex ed, we had really, really different experiences of that.
So different.
So I'm from Georgia. I grew up in the greater metropolitan Atlanta area for basically my whole life. And you grew up in, a couple of places, but what we're talking about is in
Salt Lake City, Utah.
Salt Lake City, Utah, land of the Mormons.
Yep.
So explain, so for me, I'll just talk about me. So when we had sex ed, we went to I think it started in middle school. We went to different trailer. The boys went to one trailer, which is one of the outside classrooms, and the girls went to another trailer in one of the outside classrooms. And then I think we watched cartoon videos that talked about doing it and stuff. You know what I mean? Like what sex is and how not to have a baby and what condoms are and safe
we
sex.
didn't get any of that.
They talked about abstinence, particularly in middle school, but as we got older, in ninth grade and stuff, in high school, it changed from abstinence is a thing that there's no way you can get pregnant or get an STD if you don't do it. Mm-hmm. But if you're gonna do it, here's how you decrease your chances of having a baby that you don't want
or STDs.
or an STD, right?
Yeah.
They went over how to use condoms and stuff. We did,
Oh my God, no way.
even with the banana.
No
my
way.
my PE teacher, who was my linebacker coach in middle school in ninth grade, he pulled out a banana
That's crazy.
and whipped on a condom on
No.
it. And it was blue. I'll never forget. It was a blue condom that had over the yellow banana. It was unusual. And then when I got into high school, they had, I think it was the principal's office or a counselor's office. I don't remember. It was one of the admin offices. You can go in there and it wasn't weird. You didn't need an appointment or anything. You just walked in and you just tell them hey, I need condoms.
Right.
And they literally, I don't know why it was so many. I don't know what they thought we were doing. They gave us one of those brown bags, you bring your lunch in, you bring your PB&J sandwich full of them. They just threw condoms at us, which is cool. I'm glad they did. It wasn't hard to find. It wasn't weird. It wasn't uncomfortable. They showed us how to use them on the banana, which is weird, but they were really, really trying to help us out.
Yep. So I grew up in a community where abstinence was the only option. And they were heavy on religion and a lot of things because I grew up in a really religious community. But abstinence was the only option. That was the only thing that our teachers were allowed to talk about. So we didn't talk about safe sex at all.
I was going to ask you, I've never asked you this question, but like, if you were to be like, hey, I understand, like if you were as a young woman, we'll come up to your teacher and be like, hey, I understand this whole abstinence thing, but I kind of want to do it. Mm-hmm. How do I do this and not have a baby and not get a disease?
They're not allowed to talk to us about it.
So they would say, don't do it.
Yeah. You ever watch the Parks and Rec episode where Leslie's trying to teach the
old people,
this everything, and then the whole religious community comes in and they're like, oh, you can't talk about this at all. Yeah. That's us. So you can't talk about it at all. It's abstinence only. That's it.
Okay. So what was sex education class like for you in Utah?
Sex education was opening up a textbook and seeing how bodies were made and how male and female bodies were made and learning the science of it. This and this happens. But we were never taught anything. So we were taught about STDs. We were taught about like teen pregnancies, right? But we were taught that the only way to avoid that would be abstinence, and that's it. There's no other way to avoid that. That is the only way. We didn't learn about condoms. We didn't learn about spermicide or any of those kinds of things. I haven't
heard that word in a long time.
Right? I don't think anybody uses spermicide anymore.
Hey, we need sponsors.
That's the only
still.
thing that we did.
Shouts out to Spermicide. Sponsor the show.
So yeah, that's a pretty weird way to grow up, is not being able to hear about this. We were shamed a lot. Now that
you're right. Society,
look back, we were shamed a lot.
Yeah, society when it comes to drug addiction is very shameful. Like what you say, like it's a shameful thing, and then there is no support, and it's
There's no support. Yeah,
and the answer is don't do it. Pull yourself up. Stop doing it. Like that's the answer,
and that's it. There's nothing else. No counseling, no free counseling, no safe places to do things, no health care, nothing. But it's the same thing with drug addictions, with, STDs, with, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing with all those kinds of stuff, right? Poor people get poorer. There's no way for them to get out. So if you're an addict and you have no resources, you will continue to be an addict unless you, by some like strike of God, are able to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, which is a lot.
Which you can do.
More
you
rare.
Can do it. But
you
like
can,
I said,
but it's a lot more rare.
You got to be disciplined. And generally,
Yeah.
I would imagine people that fall into addiction have a discipline problem.
Correct.
I would just I would imagine
Correct.
that. And then, living in a society where you're shamed and you don't have support.
Right.
And, it's kind of crazy because they're still humans. Like they're still lovely people.
Right.
They're just are struggling with
Right.
with a horrible, horrible thing. They still
Right.
don't deserve to live like second class. Well, not even second class citizens. Like worse than that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you got all the drug addicted homeless people and put them all together and you put them in another country, people would do mission trips and have charities and all these things to provide them a lot of the stuff that you're just talking about.
Yep.
But you don't even have to do that. They're either in your family in Miss Olive's case, or they're like down the street. They're everywhere. You don't have to travel to, I don't know, India or some poor part of the world to find places to
They're
do.
literally right here.
Yeah, but think about it. If you've got all the homeless people that are, let's say all the homeless people, the ones that are addicted to drugs, the ones that have other problems, or just whatever, and you put them on a city or a block in Atlanta or whatever, and you went there, it would be like, oh my God. Mm-hmm. It would be like, we need to fix this.
We need to do something.
Like if this was another country and you did that, that's where there would be charities and sponsors, and there would be like celebrities would get involved, and like there would be all this help and compassion.
Yeah.
But it's right here.
And compassion. Compassion is the number one thing the United States is lacking when it comes to drug addictions.
It is crazy. Like I bet when people hear this and go, when you hear like they should give them clean noodle, I bet that makes them clean.
It sounds weird at first, but let's think about it in a more simpler form, right? Abstinence versus safe sex. It's been proven for years.
No, I agree.
That providing condoms to teenagers lowers the risk of STDs. Talking about abstinence, Utah has one of the highest rates for teen pregnancies. That's crazy.
Utah be making babies.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. But yeah, I was just saying, so I bet some people's butts kind of puckered up a little bit when you mentioned.
Sure.
Because
you should go live in Utah.
Yeah, for sure. That's where you need to be. Shouts out to Utah.
You'll love it there. Nobody talks about anything real.
No one talks about. That's crazy.
All the moms are addicted to meth.
That all of them?
So that's the thing, like when you're driving in Utah, all the big billboards that they have out and stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's like, do you have a meth addiction? They're all tailored towards stay-at-home moms.
Really?
Yep.
So I don't know. I've never been to Utah, and I don't know much about anything that we're talking about.
I thought that was a thing. Growing up, I figured that stay-at-home moms just had issues.
They're bored.
Only in Utah. Only in Utah.
Only in Utah.
Only in Utah, yeah.
Yeah, if you need that meth, Hit up Utah.
Hit up the moms.
They don't care. They won't talk to you about it.
No, they don't.
No one will
won't
speak
talk
to you about
it.
your problem.
Right. You could get pregnant, be homeless, and have a drug addiction, and they would all ignore you.
Everything would be fine on the outside, but on the
Crazy.
inside. But yeah, like, I bet some people, like, when they heard that, they're like, ooh, give a drug addict clean needles. But like, you want a drug addict that's also sick.
Right.
And then spreads that sick, because some of the disease, they're in a drug addicted community, the diseases are communicable.
What?
Commutable.
What?
You could spread them very easily. Sorry,
Okay.
my doctor brain stopped working.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because it's not like, like a lot of the diseases that like a drug addict, that like a needle user would get, like I wouldn't get from them, like just from being near them. But that community, they share those needles. So like, so like they're in a very infectious environment when it comes to that. So do you want a group of people that are sick, suffering, destitute, that are also spreading sicknesses to each other?
Right.
Then you have another layer of shit that you have to peel off.
Exactly.
And they're human beings, man.
They're freaking human beings. We should be helping them.
Yeah,
we should
help.
Like. Here's the thing: out of every single counselor that's in this entire freaking world, why don't more counselors do like pro bono work as drug addiction counselors?
I don't know. I know
that to me is so crazy.
I know there's like government facilities and stuff, but
do you know how easy it is to get into those kinds of things? It's freaking not.
It's not easy.
It's not easy at all to get approved because their government funding is low and they don't have enough workers there. There's a lot of different things. I've been working with, what did you call it?
Facilities.
Sorry, the word.
Government facility. I mean,
I've been working
I know
with
there's
government
institutions
facilities for a really long time.
Yeah, I know.
They're
it's
not
been like,
easy.
Well, I know whatever
They're not easy to get in.
your opinion on these facilities is low at times, and it's also a piss off. I see you going through when you're trying to like help out your bro.
Because they don't provide the help that they need, and also here's another thing that's
so
really
short.
hard.
You always tell me about the shortness of the
all of it, and they only most facilities only provide 12-step programs, which is kind of ridiculous sometimes. And then they're mostly like Christian based, which is totally great for people who need that and want that and love that. That's perfect. But for those who don't have faith like that and their faith is in something else, they need to be able to attach that to their sobriety, and they are not allowed that position. They're not granted that opportunity to do so. So they have to go to a Christian based 12-step program, and that just doesn't compute with every single addict.
It's true. Yeah. So like, I guess the devil's advocate would be that there is a lot of research on this topic that people who, it doesn't have to be Christian.
Exactly.
When it comes to this, but the research is that when people that are struggling with addictions grant their life to a higher power, that's probably
when
not,
they believe in something.
There you go.
When they believe in something.
Yeah, that their success level for getting over their problem is way higher.
So much higher.
So that is why that exists. But
right. So then these addicts going to these Christian 12-step programs, they don't believe in Christianity the way that this program does, and they fail.
I guess So I guess if you're in there, it's a ruse.
It is.
Well, I guess.
And you're just going through the steps and you're saying the words, but you don't actually believe in it.
I get it. But
then you get out and you use 2 weeks later.
I got it. But if you're playing counterpoint guy out there listening, then I know that there's some people that go into the programs and then they're converted, their whole life has changed. So that's all.
Great.
There's also that. So there's I know that these.
I'm not saying disband all Christian 12-step programs.
I know. I'm just
Don't
saying,
do
like,
that.
when you
Don't do that. That helps a lot of people.
Whenever you point out a problem of something, some people always jump to what about the people it works for?
For sure.
Which is true. Like when it comes
keep them.
Yeah.
Keep all that.
Yeah. When it comes to anything, they're trying to get the masses, like trying to get the middle of the block. There's always outliers on either side that they're going to be all in no matter what or all out no matter what.
Correct.
They're trying to get that middle chunk.
Okay, but the thing is we only have enough resources for the middle chunk.
That's the
middle
problem.
Chunk. If we had more resources, we would be able to expand to more types of people, and we would be able to help more types of people.
And one of the things. Yes, and then one of the things you've told me is that the program itself is usually not long enough.
It's not long enough
to create like a habitual, lasting change.
Yep.
I don't remember how long it is.
Habits take a long time to form, and you need to immerse yourself in a habit after your brain chemistry has changed from using drugs for so long. Your brain does not work the same way as somebody who hasn't used drugs like that. It's been reformulated. Like, you need a long time to form new habits, and they don't allow that because they don't have the funding.
It's kind of crazy. Like this podcast, we've talked about like personal responsibility, willpower, habits, discipline.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was going to come up, man.
Really?
That's what
we always talk about when we do this stuff.
Yeah, that's true. But like, I don't know. I didn't know what we were going to talk about. But yeah, that's kind of crazy. Like how that seems to be like an underlying issue.
Yeah.
You know, that those they're all related. They're all interrelated, those things, you know, if you have good will.
So do you want to talk about, this is the thing that I was kind of inferring towards before, the conversation that we have different opinions on.
Yeah,
you know what
I
I mean?
thought we did, so I don't even know. Yeah,
we didn't talk about all of
all
it.
right, hit me with it.
All right, so children. What turns a kid into an addict? I have some opinions on it.
I thought we did. Okay,
we talked about one thing to it.
Okay, well, environment. Environment is huge. So what I was thinking is that we disagree on the which is huger and more big.
Which means more?
Which means more?
What makes more of an impact?
Yeah, the environment or the genetic makeup or predisposition of a person.
Yes. And the environment is, we also, when it comes to environment, we also disagree on a couple things within the environment, but very respectfully.
Yeah. Well, so what do we disagree on?
I think that a kid needs to be completely entertained, which is why for my children, I want them to play sports, be a part of different teams, debate team, science team. It doesn't matter. After school, they should be going and doing something.
No, I agree with you.
After school, they should not be hanging out with their friends for hours at a time and then coming home for dinner.
No. We were in 100% agreement on that.
Okay, so definitely need to keep your kids entertained. So we are in agreement on that. Cool. Yeah. Okay.
And I think that gets more. Yeah, I think that gets more pronounced as you start getting older.
Mm-hmm. Less technology.
Yeah, as they get older, I think they need positive outlets. Especially, I'm going to talk. I don't say especially guys, but I'll just talk for guys because I am a guy. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like we have a tribal aggression and assertiveness inside of us that's been building up in our DNA for like a million years.
Sure.
Like, that's just the way it is. I'm sure women do too, but I don't know what that feels like. You know what I mean? So, but you could speak to it, but we need something to do. We need something physical. We need something competitive. We need something, I don't want to use the word edgy. That's not the right word.
I think everybody does. Every human does, not just men. I feel like we all
fair.
do.
Yeah, that's fair. I just think it might be, yes.
Because men need something, because if you were going to say like things that men don't need as much would be like what, creative things, artsy things. Oh, okay. No. Well, then every human being needs that.
True. Okay. I'm agreeing. I just think that I think guys or boys in this case need that to be a focus. Like the physicality of their body needs to be.
Every human being should be like that.
Yes.
Okay.
We're in agreement.
Okay.
So we're not in disagreement.
Right.
But I can't. I also said I can't speak to being a girl.
Okay.
So I'm not speaking to that. I'm just speaking to me. Like, it's like the physical body needs to be disciplined.
Okay.
Like you need something to go do. You need to go do something hard with your body and exert yourself. Because we're not designed to be sitting in chairs and desks and looking at stuff. We're designed to be like running through the woods and like trying to catch a dinosaur.
I think every single human being is like that.
Fair.
And if you're only speaking towards you, then yes.
Yeah,
like you as a human being, yes, but not boys.
No, I think boys need it.
No, so do girls.
Yes, I'm not saying they don't.
They need it just as hard.
Okay, I'm not saying that they don't. I'm just not talking to that because I'm not one.
I understand.
Yeah, but like I think that's something that I'll say kids in general lack.
Oh yes, kids in general absolutely.
Especially now is the discipline of the physical body.
Yes.
So think about that. Like, it gets hot and they get a little winded. I don't want to do this. No. You need to do something physically hard to instill a discipline and instill willpower, discipline, and habits. Just like we talk about. I feel like.
So how do we do that in kids? We do sports, playing on a team. Being able to work with groups of people, like the socializing in groups of people. Yeah. But I feel like my kids, I want them to do a sport and I need them to do something for their body and something for their minds.
Yeah, no, we need to be well-rounded.
Oh, yeah.
But I think now maybe I didn't word it right. I think now something that is being taken away is the physical discipline of your body.
Oh yeah,
that's I'm not saying don't do art and music.
Yeah, no, I know.
Oh yeah, I'm for it. I want everyone.
We're in total agreement. We're great.
I want everyone to be awesome, but I think that had learning how to play an instrument or how to do art or reading and writing. Those are
all necessary.
Are on the uptick. I think especially if you look at it back in the day. I think little boys, little girls they do the same thing when it comes to that type of stuff basically now. But I feel like when it comes to kids in general, but their physicalness is being taken down. And I think that's leading to boredom. To get to your point, they're
so bored.
Because I remember being a pre-puberty, a puberty, and then post-puberty boy growing into manhood. there was lots of, not a negative aggression, but like there was lots of like physical body energy that I needed to expel. Like I needed an outlet to do it. And I feel like if you don't have that, if you don't have that outlet and you don't have supervision and you don't have like all the goodness from the Brady Bunch growing up, that physical lack of discipline can easily be you could easily jump the bridge to do drugs.
Yes, absolutely.
Because like
drugs and sex for sure.
Yeah, it's same. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, exactly. It was the same dopamine hit you get. You know what I mean? Just a little bit different.
Go hug a dog.
Go hug a dog, man. But yeah,
how do you not be a drug addict? Hug dogs.
Hug a dog is all you gotta do. But yeah, so if anyone that's freaking out, I'm not saying little girls don't need that. I just can't speak to it.
I know.
I just, I remember feeling it. I remember the change in my body. Same. Like when I felt it, when I was like, I need to do something.
Yep.
It wasn't like, I'm bored. I need to, it wasn't like, oh, read a book or, you know, it was like, no, I need to like move my body hard. I need to, like, I'm supposed to be in the jungle trying to catch a buffalo right now.
Right. But I'm at this point.
But instead I've been watching Power Rangers for 3 hours.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like that's not, we're not genetically wired for that.
Correct. So let's talk about technology. I have some experience when it comes to technology and children, but I think I messed up hard. I messed up hard with Andre.
You think so?
Yep. I gave Andre technology way too soon. The Nintendo Switch, he was way too young for that. I feel like I still would have waited a year from now. So I still probably would have waited until he was 7 to give him technology like that. He is way too in it. His brain is not. I mean, let's think about how your brain is supposed to be wired, right? It's supposed to be out there doing buffaloes and not doing buffaloes, but killing buffaloes and stuff. So
how would one do a buffalo? I think
we don't talk about that right now.
I think a buffalo would do you.
I think
not you, but like would be the one doing the doing.
So I think that we give our kids technology way too soon. Andre was on technology way too soon. I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah, I don't know on that one. That's a whole other rabbit hole to go down. But I get it.
I can see it though.
Yeah, no.
You're able to do technology with him, so you guys have a bonding thing with that. But from the outside looking in, he had technology way too young.
Yeah, we don't give him a phone or like
no.
We limit his TV.
We do limit it.
Time.
We're very, very strict on it. It's still too much.
It's still too much. I'll give you that. Like for my rule for our kid at nighttime for the Nintendo Switch is to play it at nighttime.
Like you can only play when it's dark outside. He doesn't have a phone. He doesn't watch TV during the day or any of that kind of stuff. But he's so addicted. Even at the little stuff that we give him, he is so addicted to it.
Yeah, it's awesome. I can't fault him for that. It is awesome. But and then also it being a forbidden fruit, like it's not available until a certain time. So it's like he doesn't get played out of because he doesn't play all day. Now he
becomes a zombie when he's doing it.
It's true. He probably would play the Nintendo Switch all day, every day, and then never get tired of it. Yep. Probably. But he doesn't have that option. So it's like something that's awesome and delicious, and I won't let him have it except for in small doses. So when he gets it, he goes hard.
He goes so hard.
Yeah.
He becomes a zombie when he does it. But that's besides the point. I think technology too young and too much is definitely a factor.
In what?
In drug addiction and being bored.
Oh, okay.
And being bored.
Okay.
Yes.
You talk about technology.
Not that I think that Andre is going to be a drug addict, because he's definitely not. But I think that that's one of the factors. Okay. And that 5 years old is too young.
Okay, I can agree with you on that. I'm not disagreeing with you on that one. I'm just saying, the least amount of technology you can give. I grew up in the 80s. I was born in 81, at the end of 81.
MTV.
We have the same birthday almost. Me and MTV do almost. Which is pretty crazy. I still rock out the music. MTV, not so much. But I always my plan is it's an impossible plan. My plan is impossible to actually achieve. But my plan is to raise Andre like I was raised in the 80s.
Okay.
It's impossible to do because this stuff didn't exist.
It's true.
So it wasn't there, but I'm trying really, really hard. So like for me, like I had a Nintendo Entertainment System, like the very first Nintendo when it came out when I was in kindergarten, I think when I got it or whatever. And I was only allowed to play it at nighttime.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, or if it was like a super rainy day or something like that, if it was like one of those days or whatever, or if somebody was sick, if my grandma or grandpa were sick or something. But besides that, they literally kicked me out of the house. It was like, come back when the street lights come on.
Yep.
Now I can't quite do that now because like the world is crazy and like I'm sure there are baby
snatchers.
I'm sure there are baby snatchers back in the 80s.
I'm so worried about baby snatchers.
But like I feel like there's way like that's just way. not even the baby snatchers, man. People don't watch for kids playing in the neighborhood like they did when I was a kid. The cars drove slowly because they knew we're out there running around, playing stickball, playing baseball, football, hide and seek, running across the street. And they would stop and wave us across, and like they were very kind. I don't think that would ever happen right now. Well, I don't say ever, but I think in most neighborhoods, like there's some really awesome family-oriented neighborhoods, but a lot of places, man, think of like an apartment complex. Ain't nobody driving slow looking for like babies in an apartment complex, man. So like, or something like that. So like, for me, like I can't do that for him because I'm scared he'll get squished or snatched up by a baby snatcher. But like I try not to get them like, like the internet's a thing. Like it wasn't a thing when I was a kid. I didn't have to worry about the internet, like YouTube videos.
Crazy.
I thought it was going to be like Netflix and TV. It's YouTube videos. Like that's what the kids, not my kid, all kids, like they love them. Like it's crazy how like kids just, I like YouTube too. Don't get me wrong. Check our podcast out.
Yeah, but it's kind of crazy.
Segue into check our podcast out on YouTube, Never 99. But
YouTube is a big thing for children.
Yeah,
and then they pop up some weird stuff on those YouTubes. But anyways, this is all like a segue. This is all a segue of
things that lead to drug addiction.
There we go. That's what we're talking about. It's like the things that lead to drug addiction.
I got us back on track. You usually get us back on track.
I got us back on track.
I did it. I said things that lead to drug addiction.
I was literally like, anyways, things that lead to drug addiction is technology too soon and too fast and too much, not being entertained, right? Their environment, not having role models, not having somebody looking after them, and anything that they were naturally predisposed to.
I would add in two that I think are more important than all of those.
What is that?
Pain. I've always someone told me that, it might have been Russell.
That's the whole.
Yeah, it might have been. It might have been the same guy that said that pain is the first drug.
You're trying to fill it.
Yeah, you get some kind of pain
with burgers and heroin.
Yeah, why not? Right? Put some ketchup on it. The heroin's delicious.
Okay.
Sorry, but like pain is really the gateway drug.
Yes.
Like a lot of kids
and fear.
Yeah. A lot of kids when they start doing any drugs, it doesn't necessarily have to be like as hard as something like heroin or meth or something like that, but like there's a pain there that they're trying to nullify.
Right.
And so I would say pain would be above everything that we've talked about, having some pain. Not that everyone that's a drug addict on you guys that are thinking of the extremes has that problem, but if you look at the chunk in the middle, I think it's true. And also like
they're trying to fill that hole.
Yeah, and the hole is caused by pain. How about that? But there's a hole. I agree with that. So I think that pain is what causes the hole, or pain is the gateway drug. Right. So I would say that one. I think that's more important. Everything we talked about is important. I think that's for me. That would be. I was like that. If your brother didn't have that hole, would he need to fill it?
Nope.
See, whether he's a 10% or not, it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
It wouldn't even have mattered because there would have been no hole to fill.
So I thought that we had a lot. I thought that we disagreed on a lot more when it came to like why kids became drug addicts. But in reality, I was in a lot of pain when we had this conversation.
Yeah, and I guess we
actually do agree on a lot of these.
Yeah,
things.
I agree with everything that you're saying. I don't like to play devil's advocate. I'd like to question thinking sometimes.
You're a curious soul.
I am.
You like to know, and that's good.
Yeah, and then I also am just trying to put some of the responsibility on the people in your life, so the responsibility is not yours. That was in the timing when we had that conversation.
I was in pain.
You were in pain, so I was trying to ease your pain. So like me being like kind of circling back to the beginning, like y'all are in the game. I'm literally on the sidelines. Yeah. So like when I saw the pain, I was just trying to like take some of the pain from you and give it back to who I thought would probably need to feel it, not because it's like not like you did anything, but you were in so much pain.
Right.
So. But no, I agree with you with everything. Yeah. And I'm not like, I just like to kind of like, I was just trying in that conversation that we had, I was just trying to ease your heart. But I would say pain as far as like what causes someone to lead down that way, pain and then
and fear.
Pain and fear.
Because all negative emotions come from fear. So pain comes from fear.
Yeah. So I agree with you.
Right. So really it's fear.
So that negativity, and then I would also say neglect, I think plays a big, that's where it comes in, like supervision, do stuff, be physically disciplined with your body, all that. You can't have that with neglect.
It's an intentional parenting.
That is very intentional. You cannot be living a life with people who are neglecting you and then you doing those things as a child.
Right. That's how I know Andre won't do that.
Yeah. So
I'll see it.
Yeah, I see you.
I'll freaking see it.
I see you, jerk. He's not a jerk. He's awesome.
No,
he's 6.
Is awesome.
He's wearing a Mario costume.
I am getting worried about him, though. I'm probably going to go check on him in a second.
He's wearing a Mario costume right now.
He is.
He's playing Mario on the Nintendo Switch.
Yes, he wants to get in the pool in his Mario costume.
Yeah,
he wants to get in the pool so bad with his Mario costume.
Yeah. But I would say things that lead to a drug. I do agree with people are genetically predisposed for different things. I also agree with pulling yourself up by your bootstraps.
Yeah.
I also know that we're not starting from the same spot on the race. And some of us are 20 feet back. Some of us have our toes on the line.
Absolutely.
So I also am aware of that.
Yep.
And then I believe that all of this stems, not all of it in every single person, but the bulk of the square that we're talking about, or the bulk of the bell curve, would be from neglect, growing up, and then pain.
And fear.
Yeah, and fear. Like all that negative stuff, and fear.
And fear.
I think that spurns all the other stuff. I think
Yep,
all the other stuff that
absolutely.
we're talking about is just ways not to have someone grow up in neglect and pain and fear. All the other things really just boil down to like, don't do that. And then also you have to, there's also
And the
like
shrapnel.
the shrapnel. There's a life lessons. Like, I use the Brady Bunch. Like, if you have the Brady Bunch upbringing, you have certain lessons instilled in your mind, like decision trees. There's a choice in front of me.
Decision tree.
You can see it, if I think in decision trees in everything I do, but like even when I have like when I was younger and had like like people are offering me things and all these, I have a decision tree and I would see, okay, if I say yes, this is the branches off that are going to happen. If I say no, this is what's going to happen. And then if you don't have that drilled into you, I shouldn't even say drilled into you, or taught to you. If you're not exposed to it and have it taught to you and make that a normal way of thinking, your decision tree is different. So when you see that, you don't even see what happens when you say yes, like the different options and stuff. So I think that's important too.
Yep.
Because I know, like when it comes to Andre, when it comes to him, like I know you talked about this on the last episode. We never try to tell him because I said so. Ugh. Why? He's sick, so he asked me why all the time. Like, why, Dad? Why, Daddy? Why, Daddy? Why? It does get annoying, but I mean, I'm not perfect, but I almost always, I always try, put it this way. I always try to not say, just do it, man. That's because I always.
The only time I do that is when I've already told him the answer. And so my answer is, why do you think?
Well, that's different.
Have we talked about it? Why do you think?
No, that's different. That's not saying because I said so.
It's true.
But
I still feel like it's a cop out when I say it, but I know I'm just trying to teach him something.
Yeah, it's not. It's just a workaround. It's a different road to the same X on the map. So what we try to do is like when he says why is to tell him why. This is why. This is the reasons why we do this. And if you don't do this, this is what will happen. So that's a decision tree.
True.
We're teaching. He is learning the differences. Okay,
go back and think about what happened before. Yeah. Connect your dots.
Yeah, or learning
forward.
Learning the consequences of one's actions is probably a more easier way to digest that. But I think in decision trees, like that's just how my brain works. But like it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
If you don't know what the consequences are, then you don't fear them, or you don't stay away from them as much as opposed to like if it's like instilled in a way to think. So like that's something that we do is try to be very intentional and teach them how to think.
Yep.
So I think that's super important. So what did we talk about? Did we even talk about the 10%, 90%?
Yeah, we did a lot.
Did we? Did you tell the people what that was?
We did a lot.
All right, cool.
We talked about it a lot.
I never know.
No, we're good. Yeah, we talked about being a 10%er. We talked about being a 90%er. We talked about 50%ers. Yeah, we hit it all, man.
If we hit it all,
I
think we're good to go.
All right, give me a high five.
High five. We love you guys.
Love you.
All right. We did it.